way, Paul?
I love doing this. I used to teach arts and culture as well as comparative religion at Macomb College. And I have spent a month in China as a Fulbright scholar in 2005. So I'm not totally a Chinese neophyte. I have some experience. But my sharing with you tonight will have to do with culture. First of all, what is it? Do you all have the handout that I left at the back of the room there? It will sort of guide my presentation. I'm not using something on the screen, so if you have something to refer to, maybe it will keep you awake, keep your mind from wandering too much.
Here we go.
Okay, first of all, there is no such thing as a good culture and a bad culture. They're all just fine. But they hang together. So if you think of culture as a coherent system for living, a meaningful design for living, it gives meaning to everyday events and people and things. So it comes as a kind of a whole, and that means that it includes a whole variety of things like language. Some of the things that Ed told you would be in your subsequent sessions in this class. So language, history, arts, food, manners, how you dress, the common gestures that we use every day, our expectations of what life will hold for us, the opposite sex, what family obligations are. In other words, it's this whole milieu that we live in all the time. And because it's ours, and we've been taught it from birth, I suppose, we often don't see it. So, one of the purposes of going to another culture is to give you insight on your own. You begin to see it as its influence on you because you've experienced something different. And those of you who have been reared or visited other cultures have probably already discovered this, that when you visit the different ones, you get insight into your own. Now, it's pretty easy to say, well, I want to understand the Chinese culture because I'm going to go there and I don't want to be a country booby, as my mother used to call me. I'm from Kokomo, Indiana, full of cornfields all around us. We didn't have any city-fied contact when I grew up, so the worst thing was to be a country booby. Anyway, we don't generally want to enter a new country and culture being a country booby. And so we want to know a few things about it, but it goes beyond knowing, because we can understand things in our head, and that's just one level. What we'd really like to achieve is some emotional acceptance, and that generally involves a three-step process. Knowledge, volition, wanting something, and then action, experiencing it. And so the game that you're going to play later tonight is going to give you an experience of entering a wholly different culture, something you're not familiar with, and trying to deal with other people who are experiencing the same thing. So this whole package we call cultural literacy. It enables you to be comfortable in foreign surroundings. You learn to go with the flow, be flexible, listen more than talk, learn more than give directives, and it makes you not an ugly American, but an ambassador for peace, essentially. You become an ambassador for peace when you know how to encounter another culture without offending, without demanding that things be like yours, and I guess without expectations. So, some things about culture, in addition to this whole picture of how we do things, what we expect, how we experiencing life. It's learned. It's nothing we get in the womb, okay? Our genes do not predetermine. So from the time we are born, we start learning culture. We learn what a smile means. many of you have raised children? That first smile from baby, it's the world to you, okay? It sets your heart aglow. And so the smile is one aspect of very early learning in our culture. If we go further on, we know that our culture expects certain things of boys and other things of girls. What are some of our expectations of boys? I'm talking even before they go to school. You can think, you can talk.
Cars.
Cars. Boys like cars?
More aggressive.
They're more aggressive. Mm-hmm. They generally aren't supposed to cry. Okay. Girls are supposed to be soft. Nice. I was always taught to be nice. I don't know if girls today learn the same things, but those behaviors of our gender really begin very early. And that represents part of our learned culture. Okay. And that process continues as we grow older. The second thing about culture is that everything in it interrelates. You change one thing and you're going to change the picture of the whole. For instance, how would you welcome strangers into your home?
Offer them a meal, something to drink.
Yes. Offer them something to drink, a meal, something to eat. That's a welcoming gesture. What about if you're the visitor? Are you accustomed to bringing a gift? You will be in China. It is considered customary to offer a gift to your host or hostess when you visit someone's home, generally speaking. And that, of course, relates to your position as the guest. There are certain expectations of the guest, other expectations of the host. She's just described something of the host, okay? And the guest would be expected to perhaps bring a gift. So etiquette, what we write to Miss Manners about and ask about, these things are the more obvious outer dimensions of culture. But they go with stuff inside of us. They go with our attitudes toward other people, toward how we should treat people, towards our sense of courtesy. Okay? So, all aspects of culture interrelate. Another feature of culture, it's shared. It's something that we all take part in. And one of the main difficulties, I think, in America today we have is perhaps not, assuming we're all Americans, but perhaps not really understanding one another's culture so well. Because growing up in Kokomo, I certainly had one set of expectations for how you behave and what you do on certain occasions, who you associate with. And that may not be true if you're raised in someplace in the Detroit metro area of Michigan, or certainly out in California or Florida. So, to some extent, cultures are regional. They're all the things that you get taught as you grow up. But it is definitely shared, and everybody around you shares in that culture. A fourth aspect of culture is it helps us give meaning. If you just think of the actions that you've done today, okay? Got up, had it in, made coffee, sat down, read the newspaper, went here, went there. I mean, these things in and of themselves are somewhat meaningless, are they not? Brushed my teeth, had breakfast, buttered the toast. I mean, in the context of culture, each of these things acquires significance. And so there's a whole bunch of packing, you might say, that goes around it. It has a certain meaning, for instance, when you say, "Hi, how are you?" And if somebody just ignores you, how would you feel? Maybe they don't know that you're supposed to respond, "I'm fine, how are you?" And obviously, you don't expect people to say, "Oh, I've had a terrible day. Can I just tell you about it?" Especially when you're passing on the street or something. So, these are part of our expectations in the world of culture. And it gives us meaning. I know there's a book by Eric Byrne, a long time ago, 1970s. It talked about how we stroke one another in public interactions. So if I say, "Hi, how are you?" And then you go on to say, "I'm fine. And how is your mother doing?" Oh, that's an extra stroke, because it goes beyond the expected exchange of, "I'm fine, how are you?" Okay? So sometimes our exchanges are stroking another person, giving them more emphasis, more importance, and that gives that relationship meaning. Do you see? It means I'm more to you than just an acquaintance. Maybe I'm a friend or something. Okay. Cultural faux pas. Here's where the meanings get scrambled. These are false foots. When you stick foot in mouth, or sometimes worse, you do something inappropriate. Some examples of cultural faux pas. I remember seeing the film Gran Torino, what, 5, 6 years ago? And Clint Eastwood was playing this real grouchy old guy. He was invited next door for a barbecue, and he walks in and he pats the kid on the head. Can I do that to you? Okay. Because that's what we do when we're fond of kids. We pat them on the head. Oh, everybody in the room goes, "Oh," like, "Oh, he's crossed a boundary." That's why I asked you. What did that mean in Vietnamese culture? The head is considered the top part of you, the most spiritual aspect, the residence of the soul. To place something above it is, it's not polite. It's to say, "Oh, you're under me." You see? There's a better description of that if I look at my notes. Well, this was true of the Hmong people, patting heads. Likewise, if I go to the Hindu temple and my knees don't cross very well anymore, and I sit with my feet facing out like this toward the altar, no, I will be told that's not appropriate. Why? The bottoms of the feet are the lowest part of you. You do not face those toward anything that you need to show respect towards. And that's, of course, why people wear head coverings sometimes in synagogue or church, or take off shoes when they go to a Buddhist or a Hindu temple. Okay? Signs of respect. These get to be very important because they're related to our identity, about who we consider ourselves to be. And we don't want people trampling on that identity. Some of the cultural faux pas you are aware of. Well, sir.
My experience in Japan, one does not hug someone goodbye. That is a very inappropriate sign of affection, even
even though you know them well.
Culturally, I'm very tactile and would do that normally.
Yeah. Oh, this is a biggie in most cultures. Hugging and not hugging. Even touching, if you are greeting a very orthodox kind of Muslim male, he will never shake my hand because that's touching a female. You just don't do that. It goes beyond the boundaries that we should set up for being proper for the whole business of propriety. That's a good example. Others that you can think of? Cultural faux pas?
With my family, my Japanese family, not like when they have a meal and you don't try it even though you don't know what it is, that's a big no-no. Yeah.
You have to try at least a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Otherwise you are offending
Yeah.
the hosts. Yes. Yeah. Other examples? Yes?
In America, we never ask how much something costs or ask how much money people make.
Well, that's a goodie. Yeah. I've been to India many times, and young people in India are very eager to talk because they want to practice their English. And I met two guys on the beach in what used to be called Madras, not anymore, it's Chennai. And one of the first questions is, what is your good name? Well, they wanted my first name, Paula. Because I was an American, how much money do you earn? I thought that was very funny. But they were asking in all innocence. They wanted to know about me. It's just that that was culturally inappropriate to ask somebody, at least in our culture. These are good examples. I'm sure you will come up with others, and you will make cultural faux pas in the course of entering another culture, learning about another culture, meeting people of other cultures. It's just going to happen. You'll have to learn to forgive yourselves. So, to conclude here with culture, it's our lens for viewing the world and others and everything in it. It gives us the eyes to see, and it tells us what to notice, what not to notice, when to speak,